Okay, hi, I'm back. And I just wanted to talk about the idea of taking it one day at a time. I am talking to some people today, and what I'm hearing is that people are managing as long as they can stay in the day. And what I have been hearing about and talking about, people in recovery, people that are working on these steps especially, is that we have the tools we need to handle whatever it is that comes up as it comes up. I don't have to anticipate trouble. I can plan on things being manageable if I can keep my head where my feet are. And so some of those tools include the steps about being able to bring anything to God, no matter how big it is. You know, in the Course in Miracles, it talks about there are no degree of difficulties for God, and God is everything or he's nothing. And this is where the question, you know what I'm going to say here, the third step, this is where the decision comes in. You know, do I or don't I believe that God can handle this? And so what is this? It's just what I have going for me today. So if I wake up and I take it a day at a time and I don't get into the fear about the future, you know, it talks about in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous that if I could sincerely take such a position, what's the position they're talking about? About quit playing God, it doesn't work, and about asking God to help me, to relieve me of my self-centeredness. Like, what about me? How's it going to affect me? Me. How about we start thinking about other people? I know that it doesn't really make sense. Like, how could that help me? Except to say that when I start thinking about other people and how they're doing, then I forget about how I'm doing, and I'm doing okay because I'm thinking about somebody else. And so my little plans and designs, as it says in the book, seem to just be kind of insignificant when I start to think about how can I contribute to life. And it says that I'll feel a new power flow through me. I'll be able to face life successfully. And it doesn't say I'll be able to face life successfully except for coronavirus, fear. I'll be able to face life successfully, and I'll lose my fear of today, tomorrow, and the hereafter. And that's a great promise, you guys. I mean, it also talks about that in Bill W.'s story, where he says if we must continue to perfect and enlarge our spiritual life and work with others if we are to meet the certain trials and low spots that are ahead. And boy, are there going to be some more certain trials and low spots. We're in it now, and this is what we've been working on, is working on our spiritual life. I'm going to keep it in the eye. I've been working on my spiritual life. I've been building this foundation. And it kind of reminds me of Noah a little bit and the ark story. People going by, seeing him building that big ark in his yard, and they haven't seen a drop of rain in a long time. And they go, what is up with you, Noah? That's crazy. Why would you do that? And, hold on a second. I got to get rid of that phone call. Why would you do that? And, they don't see any proof of why he would possibly do that. And I think that's a lot of the times people in recovery, people are saying, like, why would you do that work? Why would you go to those meetings? Why don't you, why can't you drink again or whatever? It's like, we don't see what evidence there is that you think that you should have to do this kind of work. But people that have been through the fires of hell in addiction and alcoholism know that there are certain things that you have to keep doing to be able to continue staying sober and leading a productive life that helps you to contribute to the whole. And what's best for the whole is what's best for me. And so another quote out of the Bible that I can't really remember, but it's something like that. I'm paraphrasing big time. But these are just the things that have held me in good stead along the way. And so Noah, he's crazy. What are you doing? And people say all the time, what are you doing? Why do you do all that work? Why do you go to meetings? Why do you talk on the phone? Why do you work those steps? It's because I need the foundation that's going to be strong so that when I build my house, it's not going to be on shifting sand. And my foundation is built on something solid, and it's built on my relationship with a higher power. And so when those winds come and they're going to blow, that I know that I have a good solid foundation, and I don't have to be worried about having the whole house of cards fall just because something like this, coronavirus, hits. No guarantees, but it does get me to ask the question, do I or don't I believe in God? And if I do, then act like it. And then what do I have? I just have today. In the Our Father, it talks about give us this day our daily bread, and that's from the story of the Israelites leaving Egypt and being out there with no food, and God sends manna every day for them to be able to make bread. And he says, just pick up for today what you need. Tomorrow I'll be back and I'll have more for you. And a lot of people, of course, didn't believe it. And so they had, hoarded it and had bigger problems then because of the bugs that came with the manna going bad. And then the next day, sure enough, God came through with his promise, and there was more manna, and they made more bread, and they kept going, and they were, okay. Fat and happy? No, probably not. But they had what they needed, and it says that in the book, that God will give us what we need. Not always what we want, but a lot of times what we want, but certainly what we need. And this is where another choice comes in. Do we or don't we believe these promises that we read in the Bible, or we read in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, or we read in, Course in Miracles, or whatever it is that feeds your soul? And so the story of Job, where things went really poorly for him, really quickly, and he lost everything. And his wife said, you should just curse God and die. And he said, what? So I should be friends with God, and when things are going my way, I can talk well about God and talk about how great my faith is and what a great guy God is. And when things don't go my way and the stuff hits the fan, that's when I'm supposed to curse God, like be a fair weather friend. When things are going well, I'm all good with God. And when I don't get my way, I'm going to get mad and I'm going to curse God. So these are all stories that are really very helpful for me to remember that this is my story now. This is part of my experience, and I have a choice of how I'm going to move through this. I hope that I can do it with grace and dignity, and I know I'm going to get into the fear, and then I'm going to hopefully remember that I have tools, and the biggest tool is, getting on the phone or doing like an online, Zoom meeting with someone, a face-to-face, especially now that we're kind of quarantined, that we're supposed to be staying in our house. And now I'm in New Jersey, and as of last night, they had sort of a lockdown. And so, but it's not so hard for me because I spend so much time alone anyway. But I do know that is really difficult for people. But I'll tell you that face-to-face, Zoom meeting or FaceTime really is helpful, and it does fulfill that need to have the company of someone else, and it really is very effective. So if you haven't tried it, try it. Don't knock it before you try it. That contempt prior to investigation, you might find that it's really very satisfying, especially in a time like this when really you don't have that many choices. So I don't need to be all defiant and stupid, really, and say I'm going to go out and do it anyway because I want it and I want to socialize and I want to see other people. And then I'm not thinking about others, about not so much if I get the coronavirus or not, but if I pass it. And that's the part that I am most concerned about. And I think that's the part that they're trying to get it to slow down by having people not interact. So instead of complaining and fighting and talking about what I'm not getting and why I'm not getting my way, I really would like to start talking about how I am grateful that I have a house to be in, grateful that I have food, grateful that I have toilet paper, grateful that I have the internet, grateful that I have people that I can reach out to, grateful I can make phone calls, grateful that my friends and family are pretty much safe. We're all going to be affected by this. We're all going to probably know somebody who's got it. We're probably all going to know somebody who's died from it because it's just going that way. It's getting that big that quickly. So the reality is I'm setting my intention for the ability to handle whatever comes down the pike because I'm asking God to help me to keep me today, and then what I need tomorrow, I'll have tomorrow. So I know that people have a hard time with my attitude about this. But this comes from a long experience. Have I ever been through something like the coronavirus and the lockdown and stuff? No, but I've been through my own personal challenges, and that I have found God to be trustworthy. And so when I'm making these videos, it's just to remind myself, and perhaps you will hear something that would help you, that God is trustworthy. He is who he says he is. He does what he says he's going to do. He, she, it doesn't matter to me one bit. I say he and God because it's short and I know how to spell it, and I write in my journal a lot. Writing, another great tool is the gratitude list. So you guys, this takes work. I don't get to sit around and just talk about what's not working and thinking about all the horrible, terrible things. It takes work to get my book out and to get a pen and to sit down and start writing and get that quiet time. It takes work to get out my books, to sit down and read something that's going to feed me spiritually and remind me about the things that I know to be true. This kind of living takes work. This is not something that I just get to sit back and have it just wash over me, or, just go sit in church or in a meeting or something and have it by like osmosis. It's not going to happen that way. I have to do the work. And God says that he would do for me what I can't do for myself, but he gave me a brain and I get to use it. And there are a lot of things that I can do for myself, you know. And I tell people all the time when they call me and they want to complain about something, said, hey, take it to God before you bring it to me, and ask God first and do the work. Don't waste my time and don't waste God's time, because you can do a lot on your own. The gratitude list, the writing, the reading, making phone calls and asking somebody else how they're doing, thinking about somebody else before I think about myself. I know this goes counter to a lot of people, what they think. And I'm telling you, I've only come to this by experience, and I stand by it, and I will not argue, because I'm not here to argue, and I don't really care what anybody else thinks. It's really none of my business what anybody else thinks about me. I know for me that these are tried and true methods, and this is my life for the last 43 years, is wondering where the next dollar or job is going to come from, and working at home by myself, spending 85 to 90% of my time alone anyway, and finding that it is more than doable, and learning how to take care of yourself. You know, get up, get showered, get dressed, act as if you're going to work, act as if you're going to be seeing people. Like, treat yourself well, because sitting around in sweat clothes and putting your hair back in a ponytail and not putting on any makeup, or not taking care of yourself with food and water, we're going to pay for that. So let's keep going. Let's talk about what does work, and let's keep talking about the solution. So if you can take it, I'll be back and I'll make another video, and I'll probably repeat myself ad nauseum, but it's what I know. And people say, oh, you got good stuff to say. And I say, I know, because I stole everything I have. I don't have an original thought in my head. So I hope that maybe something that I said made a difference and helps. And I am grateful to have this opportunity to say it out loud so that I can hear it myself and remind myself, because I, more than anybody, need to remember that God is the power that I have chosen to run my life. And when I get unmanageable, it's because I took back the power. And so now I'm handing it back over and saying, God, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? Well, really nowhere now. Well, who would you have me talk to? And what would you have me say? I'm going to just let him take the burden of this. And then the golden key, like Emmett Fox talks about, instead of thinking about the difficulty, no matter what it is, think about God instead. Thanks.